Okay, hi, I'm Vivi. Be interviewing you today. What's your name?
Pete Phillips.
Sharon, Cayler.
What are your tribes?
Confederated Salish and Kootenai.
And mine is, I'm from the Seven Lost Tribes in Pennsylvania. When they made reservations, the Seven Lost Tribes in Pennsylvania ran. There are no reservations in Pennsylvania. So I choose to live the Kootenai life.
Nice. Where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
I grew up right here in Ronan. Well, sorry, we're in Pavel. In Ronan. And I've lived here all my life. Went to Ronan High School.
Nice.
I grew up in Tacoma, Washington because my dad worked in the shipyards in World War II. And after World War II, the people in the shipyards didn't have any work, and so we moved to Boise, Idaho. And I lived there most of my life. I moved here in 2005.
Something like that. I don't remember.
What is your favorite memory growing up?
The mountains.
Same here. I was
Yeah.
in the mountains with my dad all the time.
I was always in the mountains. I lived in it.
Yeah, you lived in the mountains right above Job Corps.
Yeah, that's where my house was in the mountains.
Wow. See a lot of bears?
Oh yeah. Deer, elk, coyotes.
Foxes.
No, we didn't have the foxes up there. I have them at my house now. But a lot of deer.
Yeah.
My dad taught me about hunting, picking berries. I learned everything from my dad.
Who inspired you growing up?
Definitely my father.
Yeah, my dad, well, my mom had a stroke when I was about 5, so my dad did everything. And who I consider my dad is really my grandfather. But they raised me, so that's dad and mom.
Yeah. When did you start taking cultural learning seriously?
I didn't hear what you say.
I can repeat it. When did you start taking cultural learning seriously?
From the time I could walk,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, I grew up in a city, so I didn't take it seriously until about 1996. And that's when I met Joe Phillips.
My husband.
And I'd had visions from the time I was a little girl, but I didn't understand them.
Wow.
And he taught me how to understand them.
That's awesome.
That's when I began to choose the Kootenai way.
What's one thing you've learned from the younger generation?
They don't listen.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. They do, but in a lot of ways they don't. Their way is the only way, and it's not right yet. They need to grow up first, listen to their elders, and then make up their mind what they're going to do. Not when they're teenagers and think they know
Yeah.
it all.
Most elders have said that we don't listen and that we're impatient.
Well, at least I'm not far off.
Yeah.
Well, what concerns me about the younger generation is how prevalent the suicide rate has become.
Yeah, it's
And my grandson has suffered depression since he was in grade school, and so did my son. And when my grandson was 17, he's now 30, he was considering suicide. But he thought a lot about it before he well, he didn't attempt it.
Mhm.
When he was thinking about it, he put a lot of thought into it rather than try it.
Mhm.
And one day I was reading Facebook, and here were these words from this 17-year-old that I thought were brilliant.
Mhm.
And what he said was, I've thought about suicide for a long time, and it came to me that it's the stupidest thing I could do, because there is always someone that loves you.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
I can't hurt the person that loves me. And I thought, how brilliant for a 17-year-old to think about it that hard
Yeah.
and not do it because of that. And I thought, if every kid that is thinking about suicide would think about it long enough, they would realize there's always someone that loves you.
Mhm.
Don't do it.
Yeah. What would your advice, what would be your advice if someone is currently struggling?
What?
What would be your advice if someone is currently struggling?
Talk. Find someone you trust and talk.
Mhm.
I'm an alcoholic. I became an alcoholic when I was 18. I had a mother that was abusive. I never told my dad because I was afraid if I told him he wouldn't love me. And this was back when there was nowhere to go for help. So I chose alcohol.
Mhm.
And I didn't get sober until I was 40. And this November I'll have 43 years sober and drug-free.
Mhm.
You guys have all kinds of places to turn for help.
Mhm.
And if you're struggling, find somebody you trust.
Yeah.
And really, all you have to do is pick up your phone and dial 988,
Yep.
and the help is there.
Yeah.
And if you have a friend that is struggling, tell them you're there for them.
Mhm.
Don't just watch them struggle,
Yeah.
help them.
Definitely. Do you have anything to add?
Well, one of my nephews, he came to me and he kept telling me that he was having dreams that he couldn't understand.
Mhm.
And he could see things that he didn't understand. But at the time he came to me, he was pretty plowed.
Mhm.
And by the time I got him sober enough that he could understand,
Mhm.
his friend says, "Oh, come on, we need to go." I never got to finish talking to him.
Mhm.
It wasn't a week later that he was dead. And it hurts
Mhm.
that I couldn't keep him there long enough to talk to him.
Yeah.
And for him to understand, because when someone is plowed, there is no way they're gonna understand
Mhm.
or listen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's hurt all of us in one form or another. You know, my youngest daughter has a real hard time with this nephew being gone, because they were really close, but he never contacted her to talk to her,
Mhm.
because she would have at least tried to stop him too.
I had a lady call me one night, and she said, I'm in trouble. I said, I'll come and get you and I'll take you to an AA meeting. And I took her to the meeting, and I was the last person to talk to her. She committed suicide that night. And somebody asked me, well, don't you feel responsible because you didn't get through to her? And I said, no, I did what I needed to do. I took her where there's help.
Yeah.
That's all I could do.
Did what you could.
If she didn't get it, that wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
You know, I took her where the help was, but she just didn't get it. Some people don't get it. I'm a true believer that in every death to drugs and alcohol, there's another life that is saved. And I'm living proof of that. And, but the hand always has to be extended to help those that want the help and are willing to grab hold. And I'm always there for those that want the help.
Yeah.
I never say no. Anybody that needs the help, they call me, yeah, I'll come and get you and take you where there's help. But you have to do the work. Nobody can do it for you.
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah, I'll take you to meetings all day long, but you have to, when it gets right down to it, the only person that can get you sober is you,
Yeah.
or get you off drugs. You have to do the work. You have to be willing. But yeah, I'm gonna take you wherever you need to go to get you where you need the help.
Yeah. You have to be there for
Always.
yourself.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about being Native American?
The one,
What's your favorite thing about being Native American?
the spiritual. Definitely the spiritual part. Because it's so personal.
Yeah.
And people in a church just don't understand that.
Yep.
They don't understand that it's not a Sunday thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's an everyday thing. I had a man ask me years ago at our Lee powwow, he said, I'm looking for a new church. Where's your church? And I said, oh, it's over there. And he looked and he said, I don't see a church over there. I said, oh, no it isn't, it's over there. And he said, well, I don't see one over there either. I said, you don't understand what I'm saying. It's wherever I am. It's everywhere I am.
Yes.
Because it's in here,
In the
deep
heart.
inside. I don't need a building,
Exactly.
you know. It's inside my soul. And that's why I like the native culture. It's what's inside of us.
What you just heard us all talk about, helping somebody, what we did as kids, growing up, where we've been,
And passing it on.
and that's
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
You know, there's no such thing as you have to be here. Yes, school is important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Because it is. Well, I have a bachelor's degree, I didn't do a whole lot with it because I got old,
Yeah.
but I had fun getting there. Just the learning process was fun, especially when I got older. When I was a kid, school was easy. But all around us, no matter
Everything
where,
is sacred.
no matter where you go, what you do, the water we drink, the food we put in our mouth, the food we give to somebody else, that's life. That's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
And there's people out there that have no clue what that means.
Yeah.
You know, that's mine. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's everybody's.
Sharing.
Digging roots, growing a community garden,
Picking
all of it.
huckleberries.
yeah, picking
Oh, I
huckleberries.
love picking huckleberries. Don't know if we're gonna be able to do it much anymore. We're getting
Yeah, we've gotten pretty slow at it. We used to be fast, but we still go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
So,
being in the hills is,
Because
It's
we're in
good
the
for 'em.
mountains,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's good for us,
yeah,
feels good.
yeah.
it's home.
It is. Well, we go places that are where my ancestors and
Mhm.
my daughter's ancestors were,
Mhm.
but, this whole area around here is home.
Yeah.
It's like my sister passed a year ago, and I didn't wanna go get huckleberries, cause that's where I taught her to get huckleberries, and I didn't wanna be there.
Yeah.
And so she said, well, we're going, and I did not wanna go.
Yeah.
So 3 of us went, and when I got there, I was so glad I went, because my sister was there.
Mhm.
I could feel her there,
Yeah.
because it was her favorite place to be. That's where I taught her how to pick huckleberries.
And fall down the hill.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Oh, it's just
And-
kind of private, but
it's just a private joke.
her and her
Yeah.
sister are they were the biggest klutz that you ever saw in your life.
But my sister could plant a camp chair on that mountain, and it would not tip over.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how she did that.
But when we got there, I could feel her at every bush. I mean, she was there,
Mhm.
and we ended up having fun. I mean, she was everywhere. That's where I taught her about soapberries and all kinds of stuff.
Things that I
And-
taught her.
And she was the type of person that when you taught her something, her eyes just got big and like, really? And you can wash your hands with a berry? And I'd say, yes. Can we do it? And so I'd say, yes, go get 4 of those little red berries and a bottle of water. And she'd go get a bottle of water and those 4 little red berries, and her hands would be all purple, and I'd show her how to wash her hands with soap berries, and her face would just light up. And it was so fun to teach her. And when we went to pick huckleberries last year, all those memories of her and how fun it was to teach her just came rushing back.
Mhm.
And I had an amazing day. The huckleberries were almost done.
Yeah.
We didn't get hardly any, but oh, what a good day it was.
They tasted good.
Yeah, they did, as few as there were, but you should always go back where you had fun with someone you've lost, because the memories just come flooding back.
Mhm.
It was an amazing day. Even though I was fighting it.
Yeah, I mean it on to her
Yeah,
really bad.
yeah, she's so mean. We're sisters from different parents. That's what we are, and have been for, 30 years.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. And that
We're being watched.
happened the minute we met.
Wrap it up, is that what she's trying to say?
I think so. We'll do one last question. Okay, how do you handle racism within and outside of the reservation?
I
What?
try to ignore it. How do you handle the racism outside the reservation?
Or inside?
Well, I have been, wherever I live, I have seen racism, because I'm the type of person, wherever I am, I look like whatever race is there.
Mm.
I grew up where there were migrant workers, and everybody thought I was illegals from Mexico.
Mm.
And so I've dealt with it since I was little. When I was 14, I went to Mississippi with neighbors as a babysitter, and we made this was in 1956.
Mm.
we didn't understand about black days for shopping and white days for shopping.
Yeah.
And we went to town on a Saturday.
Mm.
And we walked in this store, and because in Idaho, everybody shops on the same day,
Yeah.
just like here. And Merle, that was the lady I was babysitting for, she gets all the stuff she needs, and she goes up to check out, and this black lady is at the cash register, and she said, "Ma'am, you cannot buy anything today." And Merle said, "Well, why not?" And she said, "It's Black Day. Whites can't shop today." And Merle said, "What? I've never heard of such a thing. At home, everybody shops on the same day." And she pointed at me and said, "And she cannot shop on any day. She's a mulatto." And Merle looked at her and said, "What in the heck is a mulatto?" And she said, "You don't know what a mulatto is? A mulatto is half white, half black. And it's obvious that's what she is. Because we were down there where it was real humid, and my hair was super kinky." And Merle said, "Is that why no one will talk to her? Because we had noticed nobody would speak to me, and we couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
The whites wouldn't talk to me, and neither would the blacks." And I was devastated. I mean, I'm 14, and no one will speak to me. And no one spoke to me the whole summer, and that was why. Because they thought I was a half-breed.
Wow.
What an eye-opener when you're 14 years old.
Yeah.
And I told Merle, I said, "Well, let's go back home where I'm what they called wetbacks, half Mexican, or a Mexican from an illegal Mexican working in the fields." And I was working in the fields. And so everybody assumed I was one of them. And I spoke Spanish because everybody in the field spoke Spanish. I worked with them because I needed to make some money.
Yeah.
So I worked in the fields with them. I didn't feel like I was being discriminated against at home. But I guess I was, but I didn't realize it. Because it's just where I lived and how I grew up. I didn't realize it was discrimination
Yeah.
until I went to Mississippi and nobody would speak to me because I was a mulatto there. So yeah, I've been discriminated against my whole life, but didn't realize until we got to Mississippi. Then I realized what it was.
I guess she wants us to
Wrap it up.
wrap it up.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming and doing the interview today.
Mhm.